How do I get this to work? Hold on. I love the Power Glove. It's so bad. Sorry, I guess that was the wrong Power Glove movie, wasn't it? Iron Man 3. So Iron Man 3 is the sequel to Iron Man 2, but it's more or less the sequel to the Avengers. This is the first movie in Marvel's Phase 2, and I've liked pretty much all of the Marvel movies leading up to this one. So Iron Man 3 takes place a little after the Avengers. Tony Stark's still dealing with post-traumatic stress. Yeah, when you're getting sucked into a wormhole that you have to take a nuke into to stop a bunch of aliens that are trying to kill your planet, yeah, you might have a little bit of post-traumatic stress you gotta deal with there. And now there's this new threat by a guy called the Mandarin who's ready to take over the world, starting with the US. And now Tony Stark is back to save the day. So I really like the first Iron Man, I really like the second Iron Man, not as much as the first one. I loved the Avengers, so naturally I'm really looking forward to this movie. And was this movie good? Yeah, overall I would say so. Starting off with the performances in this movie, Robert Downey Jr. just kills it as Iron Man like he always does. And in this movie he really gets to stretch his range because Tony Stark's being challenged in ways he hasn't been before. Before this he's, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. But in this one he's really dealing with some stress because of the Avengers. He's having these anxiety attacks. It's really starting to mess with his mind. And so along with combating the Mandarin, he also has to combat the demons inside him. Don Cheadle I also thought was really good as Rhodey. He wasn't as good in the second Iron Man, but in this movie he really got a lot more personality, and he really came into his own as the character. I honestly don't even remember Terrence Howard playing him. That's a lie, I actually do. Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin did a really good job. Without getting into spoilers, I will say that this movie really captured Ben Kingsley's range as an actor. Guy Pearce did a good job as Adrian Kilyich. This movie starts off with a flashback. In that scene, he kind of reminded me of Jim Carrey from Batman Forever. That's not a negative, though. His character was supposed to be really weird. But then in the present day, he's kind of like this DiCaprio type where he's really smooth and charming. But also has that dark side to him, so you can tell he's hiding something. This movie actually kind of reminded me a little bit of Terminator 2, which is actually my favorite action movie. Which brings me to my next point, that the action in this movie was really well directed. I mean, it's really easy in movies nowadays to just make all these really fast-cut action scenes with a bunch of shaky cam. So it all just looks like this. That's right, I'm looking at you, Hunger Games. But in this movie, I was really impressed. It all looked really good. And also, you saw the scene in the trailer where Tony Stark has all these different Iron Man suits. And that scene is really cool. You see all the suits working together. They're all kind of on the same page. Which shows that all of these suits are actually combined by one mind, Tony Stark's. And what I loved about this movie is it showed what was really cool about the first movie was that Tony Stark's real weapon is actually his brain. Like in the first movie when he gets captured by the terrorists, he's stuck in that cave, he just has to use what he can to get out of the situation. And he ends up making the Iron Man suit. In this movie, similar situations happen. You saw it in the trailer again, where he gets stripped of his suit, and it's like he's back in that cave and he has to use his mind again to get through some situations. There's a couple scenes in this movie, I swear, it was just like straight up MacGyver. Now the story in this movie, it was good, sort of. It had its ups and downs. When I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, this movie's going like A+ for sure. And I had heard that there was a twist in this movie, but the movie was going on for a good hour and a half, and I hadn't found it yet. And I was like, okay, did I just roll with the twist? Was it like that good? No, and then the twist hit, and I was just like, that's interesting, but, jeez. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but just know that if you're a fan of the comics, you might be let down with this. But it didn't detract from the movie as much as I thought it would, so that's a good thing. And one more problem I have with this movie is that it follows the Avengers, but it doesn't explain where any of the Avengers are. I mean, come on, America is getting blown up. Captain America, where are you? Are you so bitter that they didn't give you any shawarma at the end of the Avengers? Overall, Iron Man 3 is a great action movie, a good Iron Man movie too. The new director Shane Black was able to take the series in much darker tones and new directions. And I thought that overall the summer movie season kicks off with a bang. Iron Man 3, I'm going to give it an A-. So now for this next part of the review, if you have not seen Iron Man 3, I highly recommend you turn the video off, because we're going to talk some spoilers, namely the one. So like I said, this movie had a twist in it that I didn't really see coming at all. I was thinking, this movie's going to get an A+, I'm going to love this movie, it might be one of my favorites of the year, It still is one of my favorites of the year, don't worry. But then the twist happens, and he's all going up to the mansion all Uncharted style, and it looks cool. I'm like, alright, he's gonna see the Mandarin, they're gonna have this cool dialogue, they're gonna fight, it's gonna be awesome. Then he gets to the Mandarin, and he sees the Mandarin, and I'm going, yeah, Tony Stark, what the And yeah, that's the best I can describe it. The Mandarin is actually this actor named George, who's from Hollywood, who Guy Pearce's character just hired so that he could have a face to all the terrorist attacks. It's really a smart move when you think about it, but I was just like, dude, really? Really? Come on. And like I said, this movie tested Ben Kingsley's range as an actor in the way that he was supposed to be really menacing, but at the same time, he was this cracked out Hollywood actor. I wanted to laugh in that scene too. It was kind of funny, but at the same time, I could have just seen the director going, oh yeah, we got this cool new villain. Oh, we got you guys. Oh, he's not actually the Mandarin. I was like, come on, the Mandarin, I mean, I don't read the comics, but I know the Mandarin's like Tony Stark's arch nemesis. He's the Joker to the Batman, the Green Goblin to the Spider-Man, the Magneto to the Professor X. So when I saw that, I was kind of let down. That story arc could be really cool in another type of movie, but when you're doing it with one of the most beloved comic book villains of all time, yeah, that's kind of a problem. It's like this. 48 frames would be cool, and it's a cool thing, but when you test it out on a movie like The Hobbit, yeah, fans are gonna backlash at you. But they must have known that going in. They must have known that hardcore fans of this movie were really not gonna like it. I also didn't mention this part in the initial review because I didn't know if this would be considered a spoiler or not, but I thought the kid in this movie was really good. It's weird, the kid didn't annoy me. I mean, usually kid actors that we live in, ever since like the Goonies, there hasn't really been any good child actors ever, except for Super 8. But I thought that the kid actor in this movie was really good. I mean, he had this funny banter back with Tony Stark. And you could tell that they're not equals, but Tony Stark still respects the kid. That was really funny. I also love that news guy that Tony Stark runs into and he starts like fanboying out. That was funny because most people would do that if they saw Tony Stark. If Robert Downey Jr. just walked into my room right now, I'd probably do that same thing. And the last thing, I thought that Gwyneth Paltrow's character should have died. I don't hate Gwyneth Paltrow, but I just thought the character should have died. It could have been really sad and emotional for Tony Stark. But when I was watching this movie, when she fell, at no point was I going, oh my gosh, she just died. No, because they showed her in the Extremis suit before, so I knew that she had those powers, so she would survive the fall. But that's a really minor nitpick. Overall, Iron Man 3 was a great movie. Definitely check it out. Actually, if you're still watching this review, you should have already checked it out. If you haven't, why did you watch this part of the video, honestly? Shame on you. So, thanks for watching this review. If you guys liked it, you can click here to see more.